All of our lives are defined by the places we're connected to and the people we hold close.
Chào Thai.
My name is William Lee Adams, and I'm a Vietnamese-American journalist and an author. I was born 6 years after the Vietnam War ended. I'm here to explore a country that's helped shape me. For me, it all flows from the war that brought my parents together. Two people born 12 time zones apart, thrust together to build a life. My family lived in America, and my big brother John was my best friend. But 2 years ago, he passed away. I have a lot of unfinished business. I want to bring him home, essentially. This is where he was born. This is where he was happiest.
Có cà phê sữa đá.
And this is where so many people who loved him and took care of him still are. I'm traveling across the country, starting in the capital city, Hanoi, and ending over 1,500 kilometers away in Ho Chi Minh City,
Cái này màu khác.
where my family still lives in Banana Garden Market.
Oh, he's so well hidden.
It's the most incredible journey I've ever taken. And I have to confront my family's difficult relationship with Vietnam. My father and your grandfather would have been fighting against each other.
I lost my grandfather, right?
Will putting my brother to rest help me make peace with the past? I'm in Hanoi, Vietnam's capital city. And like other early risers, I've come to Lake Kiem. It's my first morning back in Vietnam, a country I last visited nearly 20 years ago, and some things seem to have changed.
We've got dancers. Busting that move. This is incredible.
There's a real buzz, and the city seems more confident. I think the last time I was here, I felt a bit like a fraud. I didn't think I could claim a Vietnamese identity because I was born abroad.
I know I'm of this place, and yet I'm completely removed from it.
I grew up in the deep south of the US in the 1980s, just years after the Vietnam War had ended.
There was a lot of animosity and resentment towards Vietnamese people at that time, and my father really contributed to that narrative because he told me, you're not mixed race, you're not biracial, you're white. My mom did the same thing. She said, oh, you're not Vietnamese, you're American. And so I grew up ostensibly as a white American boy. So I keep seeing the same people on loop running around. It seems really inclusive. You see people of all ages, you see foreigners. This lake really is the center of public life.
I'm optimistic about this journey. I think that generally speaking, people are so warm and welcoming. But I do worry sometimes that maybe some people do remember the past.
With music and news 24 hours a day, this is On Radio Service, Vietnam.
My parents met in Vietnam. In 1968, my father was a nurse. He pulled bullets out of bones. And my mother at that time was a widower who had a young son, my brother John. My dad fell in love with my mom and little John, and in 1973, he asked my mom to move to the US. And her family reached the decision that she should go, but she needs to leave John in Vietnam because she doesn't know my dad. Is he a good person or a bad person? So why don't you learn English, test out your husband, and then we'll send John. Before immigrating to the US, my mother used to work in the family market stall in Saigon, in South Vietnam. These marketplaces are still the lifeblood of the country.
So I'm off to meet Lylla. She runs food tours, she's a food influencer, and I'm not gonna struggle to find her because I've been following her for months. Oh, Lylla! Hi, nice to meet you. Oh, how are you?
Like the women in my family, Lylla's mother also ran a market stall.
So we are on the side of Dong Xuan Market. Dong Xuan Market is one of the largest and also oldest market in Hanoi.
I think that Vietnamese food gives me a route into Vietnamese culture.
And you smell that?
Oh yeah, I smell
You
that.
recognize that tangy? This dish is one of the most exciting dishes in Hanoi.
It connects you because you can sit down with any Vietnamese around the world and they'll have an opinion on food. I definitely taste the tomato.
Yes, the rice vinegar, the zambon is so nice and tangy. It wakes you up.
And it seems so communal, like people are really gathering.
I think market and food in general is kind of like the heart of Vietnamese culture. It's like food is that important. I feel like it's related to like family and communities, because when you literally sit down and sharing a meal with somebody, the loved one, the friends, and kind of like get to know a stranger sit right next to you too. Like, look at this. You're sharing a space with somebody that you meet for the first time.
I can tell this is really close to your heart. When you were a kid, did you help your mom cook?
No, I did not. My mom was selling pho in the market. From my mom or my grandparent generation, they work so hard like that, 7 days per week, don't take a day off to put you through the school. So I never realized that how hard my mom had to work.
Now you chose this particular pho restaurant, why was that?
The local love it here. I think her chicken is delicious. And then I think she reminds about my mother a lot. She opened this pho shop for about 32 years already.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to taste 32 years
I
of
know,
broth.
right? Me too. I mean, I come here often, but I just love it. The scene and everything.
It really is a scene. It's funny, people are driving by, they're looking at her. It's like she's a local celebrity.
Yes, yes. The chicken here is getting so much attention. Em cảm ơn chị.
Okay. There's something very comforting about that.
It is.
I've never had the Hanoi pho gà, chicken pho,
yeah.
and it tastes fantastic.
Yeah.
To be honest, when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of Vietnamese food because my mom was quite isolated culturally. We always had fast food or microwave food. It wasn't really home cooked. And I understand now why that was.
Our mother, they did what they did to raise who we are today and keep us alive.
Yeah. And here we are eating chicken pho in
I know,
Hanoi. So
on the side of the street. It's
it all worked out.
Yes.
Pure luxury.
Yeah. And I think the Vietnam War, or as we say, American War here, divided to the country, and it led to the part that so many like Vietnamese people, like the mother, had to leave home and go to a different country where she don't speak the language and literally had to build life on the ground to raising her children. But now we have so many Vietnamese all over the world, and who like you, spreading the love for Vietnamese culture and food. So because of that, it's really more people in the world that know more about our food, our culture, our people.
My mother left my brother in Vietnam when she immigrated to the US.
And then in the years that followed, John got very ill. Essentially, he had a fever and his brain started to swell.
But Vietnam didn't have the doctors or the medicine. It was still recovering from the war.
So he started to lose control of his legs and his arms and his brain. But my aunts had hope. They said, if he goes to the United States, perhaps he can be treated, perhaps he'll walk again. And so they told my mother he was unwell. However, they didn't tell her the full extent of his illness. The day she picked John up at the airport, he didn't recognize her. And he was no longer walking or talking.
Mom, you don't have to lean back. The doctors in the US couldn't reverse John's condition. Caring for him became the focus of our family, especially for my mother.
Oh, Mom.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry.
I'm partly doing this trip for my mother, and I know she wants to come back to Vietnam, but she won't come. She blames her knees or she has too much to do, but I'm thinking this is a down payment on a future visit.
You look like an old 90 years old woman.
Well, aren't you an old 90-year-old woman?
Well, not quite.
Làm gì đó?
Đang ngồi coi YouTube, the dog show.
The one with the chihuahua.
Yes.
William và anh Hải ở Việt Nam bây giờ.
Good. You take care of him, huh?
Yeah. Chúng tôi nói chuyện mỗi ngày. Anh ấy rất là vui, hạnh phúc.
Good.
I think in the past, when I was really young, John came between me and my mother. But on this trip, I feel like John has brought us together.
And Mom, how do I say this? Trước khi tôi đi chùa, mẹ muốn nói something anh Hải.
Tell him I miss him very, very much and I will see him soon.
Đúng rồi.
I will see him, okay? And your father too. Okay? I miss him a lot, William. Well, you take good care of him, huh? You make sure you put his picture at the temple, okay?
Có ở đây.
Good. Bye-bye, John. Bye-bye, John. Love you, John.
John and we were really raised together. He came to the United States in 1981, the year that I was born. He was 13 at the time. And so we were side by side the whole way. When I was a baby, I would play in his wheelchair and I would squeeze the back of the seat and pull out the foam, and he'd be sitting on the floor next to me. I didn't understand the sadness that that wheelchair carried for my family. When I was a kid, we were both very isolated. I didn't speak till I was 6. I was just so fearful and anxious. And he didn't speak because it wasn't really an option. We understood each other. We had this deep bond.
As an adult, John lived in a nursing home in Atlanta, in the US. When he passed away in 2022, we held a service for him in a local Buddhist temple.
Chào cô các khỏe không?
I got really curious about incense after my brother's funeral, and the monks said that smoke, to many Vietnamese people, connects this world with the spirit world.
Quảng Phú Cầu, Sinh Hán.
And I read that in Hanoi, they have this incense village that ships the bamboo stick, which is used to make the incense, all over Vietnam. So I wanted to see the people behind it.
Chào chú.
Ok.
Tôi tên là William.
Ok, thật yêu.
Cháu rất vui gặp chú.
The incense village is like a rainbow exploded, and you see bundles of sticks drying and or displayed on the ground. When I spoke to Mr. Long, he made it clear that this is their art.
Nói chung là làm cái nghề này thì đúng là các cụ đã để lại rồi, nhưng mà cũng không phải là ai người ta cũng thích làm cái nghề này thì mới làm được, tại vì nghề này nó quá vất vả so với cả các nghề khác. Thứ nhất là nắng mưa là phải lao ra, làm việc ngoài trời rất là quan trọng về vật. Còn người không yêu nghề là không làm được.
Are you proud of the work you do and how important it is to people?
Nói chung để đất nước Việt Nam thì đối với cả các cái nén hương nhang này nó rất là quan trọng để về cái tâm linh. Nếu như về tâm linh mà không có nén hương thì đấy người Việt Nam thành ra người không có tâm với cái cụ. Ai phải có cái ngày lễ hoặc là ngày mất, ngày sinh thì ai phải có cái nén hương. Mà đến người đi làm ăn người ta cũng rất là cần có nén hương nhang để người ta cầu may về cái vận mệnh người ta đi làm ăn.
I'm taking my brother's ashes to Saigon, where he was born. If I bring these incense, will it help our family?
Sorry, but this question, when that is something really
Công mai
sensitive.
Our local minders interrupt our filming. It's a reminder of the limited press freedoms in a communist country. I came to this village to learn more about how these incense might be useful or helpful to my brother or my family when we take his ashes to the temple in Saigon. But local authorities suggested that in some way what I was doing was wrong or that it wasn't culturally acceptable. And it just stings, to be honest, because I'm not doing this for any other reason than to make sure my brother is at peace and at rest and to sort of bring closure to myself and to my family and my mother. I'm adamant to move forward. It's time to leave North Vietnam. All right, here we go, 31 to 36. All right. For Vietnamese people, the Reunification Express is the bloodline of the country. It connects most of the major cities. Right, choosing a bunk, I'm gonna stay low. During the Vietnam War, this express railway was bombed all the time, and Vietnamese constantly rebuilt it. Just 15 hours to go. It's a symbol of reunification, of one nation. It's the end of day 4, but I feel like I've been here for 2 or 3 weeks. When I got here, it was just a buzz of excitement. Everything was fresh, in your face, vivid, and now things have gone a bit gray. When I was at the incense village, it felt like I had done something bad or wrong and should feel shame. But a few days later, you know, it's fair enough. People do have different beliefs. We're motivated to honor the dead, to remember the dead. And in doing so, we remind ourselves about life.
Where do you think John would make of making a documentary about this?
He'd be laughing the whole time. He was always laughing about anything and everything. It was this joy, honestly, everything made him laugh. We'd watch baseball, which honestly I found a little boring. But you know, the ball's hit, he's cackling, and I think he would have liked being the center of attention as well.
I've come to the city of Hoi An. For centuries, it was an important trading port. Since then, it's become a traveler's favorite. People flock to its atmospheric old town, which rests on a river.
When I last visited Hoi An, there were like 5 of us on the main street. It was not a tourist hotspot. And when I came back, I was really worried that maybe it might have lost its soul because everyone all over the world is coming to Hoi An now. But I think there are certain elements to Hoi An that are so strong, they'll never change. The Portuguese, the Chinese, the Japanese were all there. It's this gorgeous amalgamation of so many different cultures and art forms. I've been reading about people going on the river and lighting lanterns and sending out wishes and messages to people. So I'd like to do that for my brother. I think for me, there's a lot of lingering guilt. He was my first friend and my best friend. But as we got older, I became more independent. And eventually I left home. And in leaving home, I left him. It's high season in Hoi An, and on the dock, it was pure chaos. There were so many people, so many boats. It was like a traffic jam in the water. But once I got in the boat, and once the rower took me a little further down the river, I was really on my own. It's been 2 years, but there's still this well of sadness. I was thinking about what could have been and what was. My family in Vietnam had sent John to the United States with this really sincere hope that doctors could make him better. But it never happened. But also remembering that John had a superpower, which was to always be happy, always laughing. When I lit the lantern and set it off, it sort of flowed and bobbed.
Hanoi, em nhớ anh. Xin lỗi, xin lỗi.
For a minute, it would be out of sight. Another boat would pass and I couldn't see it. Then it would just bob up again.
Em mong muốn anh có thể đi bộ, có thể anh không cần sẽ làm.
And I would see it. In a moment, it faded away. And I thought of the symmetry about how he died. He went to sleep and he never woke up. He left the world in a sigh. And the lantern sort of did the same. It was a release. I felt like John was saying, it's okay, I'm free.
For the next part of my journey, I'm heading to Ninh Binh province. It's home to some of the world's rarest plants and animals. So I've come to the Endangered Primate Rescue Center.
Em đang làm gì? Em đang leo lên cây để cắt lá xuống cho vọc ăn đây.
Hoan is one of the rangers.
Bao nhiêu cân mỗi ngày? Mỗi ngày tính trung bình mỗi ngày là khoảng 500 kg.
500 kilograms?
Yeah.
That's a lot. Never in my life have I been so close to wildlife.
Có 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bạn vọc này. Có một cá thể đực tên là Ronaldo. Một cá thể cái bạn kia tên là Homo này. Bạn kia tên là Chopbo này. Còn 2 bạn bé kia chưa được đặt tên.
Hoan, where do you rescue the langurs from?
Hiện tại thì có thể là một số nhóm người ta có thể bắt về để người ta làm thịt ăn ít tính. Với lại nuôi nhốt để làm thú cưng hay là nấu cao hoặc ngâm rượu để cho ăn và sinh sản này, giống như cái bạn mới sinh kia.
These little guys are called Delacour's langurs, and they're native to this part of Vietnam.
Some of them are learning how to be wild again after surviving human entrapment.
Hoan does a daily checkup to make sure they're doing all right.
This is the only human contact that these langurs have every day.
Em thấy vọc khỏe không?
Hôm nay vọc về rất là khỏe, rất là vui và thoải mái, không có vấn đề gì xảy ra cả.
The Delacour's langur is only found in Vietnam, and there are fewer than 300 of them in the wild. That makes them critically endangered.
Hien takes me to the wetlands where langurs still live in their natural habitat.
Oh, yeah.
We can hear them. I definitely hear one.
You see over here. Go. You know, yeah. Oh, green tree.
Yeah. They move so fast.
I see one.
Oh, he's so well hidden.
Yeah.
There are 4 of them now. They've moved from the cave into the trees. Here comes another one. They look like little panda bears on the rocks. You get a sense of how agile they are, but also how delicate they are. Some estimates say over 1/3 of the country's forests were affected by the Vietnam War, making places like this even more important. My dad was one of the 2.7 million Americans who served here. For many, Da Nang province in the middle of the country offered their first view of Vietnam. But today, the area has been transformed.
Nice to meet you. I'm gonna William.
Oh, me.
Me?
Me.
Me, Dad.
Me is a tour guide in one of Vietnam's largest theme parks, Ba Na Hills. I showed my mom a video of Ba Na Hills, and she asked me, where in Europe is that? And then when I told her it was Vietnam, she was laughing. I think it piqued her curiosity, because the Vietnam she left is not the Vietnam that I'm returning to.
Okay, we showed you the Golden Bridge.
Before I got to Ba Na Hills, I thought I'd be really dismissive of it. Is it like this every day? But then I stepped on to the Golden Bridge, the hands of God, as people say, to walk above the clouds. There's something really special about that.
The most touring a day we are to serving is 30,000.
Would you prefer it if there was a limit to how many people could come?
No, of course no. Everyone in the world now as we are amazing. We have a lot of things.
The communists may have won the war, but it's very clear that capitalism rules the day. Is it tacky? Perhaps. But it's also monumental. Vietnam's at a stage of development where that's a sign of growth and confidence. So who am I to judge? Me shows me the European village, which includes a fake French cathedral. Sort of feels like a Gothic cathedral. But when you knock, it's more like cardboard or one of those tubes you put a poster in. Hello.
Vietnamese people can go to here. Don't need to go to Europe, don't need to go to England to see this building like this. We can see it in Vietnam. It's more cheaper, right?
Me wants to show Vietnamese culture, Vietnamese flair. That brings tourists, and those tourists have helped change her life. She now has opportunities that her parents didn't have, that her grandparents certainly didn't have. Every family in Vietnam was impacted by the war. My father and your grandfather would have been fighting against each other. Does that stir anything inside you?
Sometimes I lose my grandfather, right? But it's okay. I don't fight you. I can make your friend, right? Our generation don't want to talk about this too much. We just move in the futures. Oh, really? We want to
hold hands?
Yes.
When I was a kid, my father refused to talk about Vietnam. He would always say, the last time I was in Vietnam, I was on a helicopter and people were trying to shoot me down. When I first came to Vietnam, my mother was like, why are you going there? Why do you need to go there? Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Everything was about forgetting the past. And I know that they tucked away so much pain into that darkness. I feel like we've had 4 seasons in one day.
Yes.
It's sort of like when you're on an airplane and you go through the cloud.
Yeah, that's right. That's new experience, right?
around 900 kilometers south from Ba Na Hills lies the final destination of my journey, Ho Chi Minh City.
Ho Chi Minh City is essentially a city with two names. Historically, it was always known as Saigon, but after the war, it was renamed Ho Chi Minh City in honor of the great communist revolutionary. Many locals still call it Saigon. I use both. Saigon was the first place I ever came in Vietnam. It's a place where I was first immersed in Vietnamese culture, Vietnamese language, and it's where my family's from.
I haven't been back here for 18 years.
I'm off to meet Quay Mai. She's perhaps Vietnam's most famous author and poet.
A lot of her writing is set during the war, and I'm hoping she'll be able to tell me about the time my family never talks about.
Oh, nice to meet you. Hello, Quay Mai.
Welcome home.
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to welcome you to Saigon, and I hope you feel really proud being home. We are here on the book street of Saigon. This street was established only in 2016, so all the main publishers have their little store here and they have their latest titles here.
Why do you think it's important to remember Vietnam's history?
The past has so much to offer us in terms of wisdom, in terms of knowledge, in terms of lessons. In Vietnam, even though the country is developing really fast, but if there are still hundreds of thousands of people still missing from the war. There are still millions who are suffering from the impact of Agent Orange.
A huge part of Vietnamese history is that Americans during the war sprayed forests with Agent Orange, a poison which killed the leaves, it poisoned the soil, and this was to expose their enemies.
The official viewpoint is we won the war, there's no trauma. So that's why I felt the need to document such hidden trauma, censored trauma, trauma which has been brushed aside, under-acknowledged.
Do you remember much of the war?
I was born 2 years before the war ended, and I remember growing up playing hide and seek in the bomb shelter. And I remember how empty our village was of men. And at that time, we didn't know much about the impact of Agent Orange yet until years later. And I remember that in the Mekong Delta, there were so many deformed fish, and fish that had two tails, or that had two heads, or that had twisted bodies. We grew up hungry, so we ate everything that we could find, including deformed fish. So I remember that when I gave birth to my kids, the first thing I did was I was counting their fingers and their toes.
The vortex of war sucks many people into it, and it doesn't end when one country wins and another loses. For my parents, John was a living reminder of the war. My mother had this beautiful son who, because of a lack of medicine, because of a lack of doctors, lost so much of himself.
What's he saying? Nam Su, lie down?
Yeah.
And then in the relations in our household, there was a lot of conflict. There was a lot of chaos. That's how the war lived on. Because if John hadn't suffered, I don't think the family would have suffered. And I think that if there hadn't been a war, John's suffering would never have started in the first place. I've left the center of Ho Chi Minh City, and now I'm in District 3. This is where my mom was raised. This is Chuối, Banana Garden Market. We're gonna meet my aunt number 5, Yi Nam. Left or right? I think it's right. And she was the primary caregiver to my brother after my mother left Vietnam in 1973. He stayed with her until 1981. Có cà phê sữa đá. Chúng tôi không gặp rất lâu rồi. Không đã, em too. Hello, how are you? Oh, still very beautiful, I see. This is my cousin and my aunt.
Khỏe không?
Khỏe.
Vẫn đẹp mà.
Chị sâu lắm.
Chăm sao lắm. Lấy gì vậy?
Pretty busy.
Một.
This is where my family still lives. It's where my parents met. Ở đây. Đúng rồi, đây là nhiều người. Đây là nhiều sản phẩm. These are the streets where John spent the first 13 years of his life. It's incredible to know that he was walking, running, playing here when he was healthy.
Bạn đâu?
Bạn đâu?
Bạn của con đâu?
Bạn của con? Ở nước Anh.
Không có về nè.
Không ở đây. She asked how my partner was. Không sao, no problem. In 2006, I was living with my aunt for a time, and my boyfriend visited. But at the time, I said that Ben was just a friend. Things were left a bit awkward. So when I came back to my aunt's shop, and one of the first questions she asked was, "How's your boyfriend?" I was just completely at ease.
Với 30, 223, 233.
777.
She's like a calculator. Her brain, she's doing all of the math in her head.
Nè, cái này 50,
74.
18, 36. 36 với 22, 58. 58 với 26.
Bằng tiếng Anh nói businesswoman. Cái này màu khác.
Màu khác, rồi hồi đó màu hồng.
Thay đổi, khi nào thay đổi cái này? For so many years, I've thought about John in the context of my mother, my father, and me. But the fact is, he had a whole separate life that I know nothing about. Oh, I spent a month here when I was 19 or 20. I remember this so well. The heat as well, and how opening the door brings in all the cool air makes such a huge difference. As much as I'm here to fill in blanks, I hope it maybe opens a pressure valve for my aunt. I hope maybe it gives her a chance to talk freely about John as well. Đấy là ai ở đấy? Anh Hai và ai đó?
Cái này bé Tâm. Anh Hai với bé Tâm. Nè, hồi này anh Hải mới có 5 tuổi nè. Hình này ở trên lầu có nè.
Đây là ai?
Đây là Tuyết. Không nhìn cũng biết. Đây là Tuyết. Bố con à?
Bố con.
Hồi còn trẻ. Hải nữa nè.
Anh Hải. Rất là nhỏ.
Hồi đó dì Năm phái bồng nó đi chụp hình lắm. Ông nó thấy nó đẹp, phái chụp hình đó.
Ồ, trời ơi. Dì Năm ơi, đây là ai? Dì Năm và anh Hai luôn luôn với nhau. Luôn luôn với nhau.
Đây nó có cái hình này ở trển.
You have this photo in the house?
Có. Hồi đó mỗi lần dì Năm đi làm về hỏi có mua cái gì cho nó ăn không? Ăn bánh mì lắm.
Mẹ nhớ, my mother remembers that. Mẹ nói, anh Hai luôn luôn hỏi dì Năm, bánh mì ở đâu? Photo đẹp nhất. Bây giờ dì Năm với anh Hai ở sân bay Tân Sơn Nhất. Cuối cùng, anh ấy đi ở nước Mỹ. Lúc đó, dì Năm suy nghĩ cái gì?
Thương, nhớ nó đi rồi nhớ, thương nó. Tại vì hồi nhỏ tới lớn gần nó.
I knew I wanted to do this for my mother, but it only dawned on me when I was here, when I saw my aunt, how much I needed to do this for her.
I've had this inner turmoil about, am I doing the right thing? Is carrying someone's ashes from abroad and bringing them to Vietnam, is that okay? But my aunt, she told me that she prays at the pagoda every day for John, and that having his ashes here will make it easier for her.
Mom, we're in the van right now.
There's been this talk for months. Oh, Mom, I'm taking John's ashes back to Vietnam.
Okay, I'll call you from London, yeah?
but now it's actually time to do it. And that's something completely different.
Bye, 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 bye. That was really funny timing. She somehow knew we were in the van.
Chào Thai. I'm not a practicing Buddhist, but Buddhism since John's death has given me a way to see him, to see my family, and to see the love they share. There were 3 layers: ground floor, the welcome, going up a level where we were praying and chanting.
Nam Quốc thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Chư Phật, chư Bồ Tát.
And then another level still, where John's ashes will rest.
Rồi, cố xuống vào cái.
I approached today with fear, thinking this is gonna be so sad, this is gonna be overwhelming. But it wasn't. It was a release, it was happy. And I heard my aunt chanting to herself. She said, Namo A Di Đà Phật, Namo A Di Đà Phật. And the more she said it, the more at ease I was. Knowing that the monk thinks I did something right by my brother, for my brother, that's enough. It's enough. And that gives me peace. That gives me peace. Every time I've been to Vietnam, there's been this sense of something is now complete. Some chapter is over. But I actually view this trip more like a new chapter's opening. Vietnam has played such a central role in shaping my family, my sense of myself, and I hope it continues to do that. I don't want to leave it 20 years to come back here.